Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Terry Green, and this is my friend and colleague Cameron Macquarie, and we'd like to talk to you this morning about customer behaviour and its impact on retailers' bottom line.
So what is the difficult truth at the moment? What's happened to the consumer? The consumer has, in my opinion, has really shifted. So they're absolutely in control now. The consumer is no longer somebody you can push a proposition to and hope that sticks at a particular moment in time. In the digital world, things are readily available. Things are always there. So, for example, on iTunes, I've never gone there and that particular CD is not available. So when they arrive at the store, there's an expectation that has totally changed, and the consideration set by which they're measuring that organisation is not the way it used to be. So I think there's been a major shift in the way that the consumer behaves and the way the consumer is interacting with a retail environment. And particularly in the mall environment, how do you then engage that particular consumer type when they're approaching with a very specific mindset?
Something like 3/4 of us, when we go into a physical store space to shop, we're pretty much, we may have done our research, we may have done our thinking, we're there in the store space, we're ready to buy, but whether or not we actually buy is determined by the experience that we receive. And something like 1 in 4 customers out there in retail stores right now is actually minded to just leave, because they perceive, the reality may be different, but they perceive a poor in-store experience, so they decide to just leave and go somewhere else. We're really talking about making the store work as a proper component within the multi-channel strategy, aren't we?
Absolutely.
It's about making it seamless. The whole experience of in-store and online working together as one coordinated, strategic kind of unit.
And it's that entire journey and the experience that you need to be able to understand and create a seamless connection with all of the assets that you have within your organisation.
The retail store becomes the brand showroom. It's the opportunity that retailers have to actually bring the brand to life. Actual staff behaviours make such a difference. Do people make eye contact? Do they smile? All these things actually influence a customer's perception far more than making sure you've got more staff hours than you probably actually need.
Absolutely, and it's that right level of expert as well, isn't it? So when you need that real experience, that real knowledge, how do they then bring that person to bear for you in that organisation? When there's such a wide range of skill sets across businesses, how do you make sure that you get your best possible asset in front of the best possible customer at any moment in time? That's a real challenge as well that we're seeing all across the world.
It is, very true. So let's talk a bit about getting it right, Cam, shall we?
Oh yes, I like the getting it right bit. That's all the what, but we'd like to do the how too. We're actually much more into the how.
And this sounds like it's something you can say very fast, plan the customer journey in detail. But what does it actually mean?
Well, I think it's starting to map out a particular customer, so taking a persona, taking a series of personas of customers that you really want to attract into your organisation, and really understanding where they're starting.
So from there, the brand experience starts to unfold.
Absolutely.
And you start to determine what actually really happens, what the perception in a customer's head as to what's going to happen as opposed to what you thought would happen.
Absolutely.
So this is just looking at one aspect of the whole proposition, really. It's that challenge that we all have as retailers in retail space going, so how many staff do we need in the store? What FTE do we create? These are independent statistical events, what the mathematicians call stochastic, which means that when we all go and shop, we don't all go in at the same time. We decide for ourselves when we're going to turn up. So the reality is that average arrival rate is always going to be wrong. It might be the arithmetic mean, but the actual arrival rate is represented by that lovely squiggly line that goes all the way across the chart. And that means that at certain points in the day, points B and D, there are more people turning up in the store than we have capacity to serve. And the consequence of that is people have to wait. How is that waiting experience actually managed? Do I start to perceive a bad experience? And if I do, I'm likely to leave. What this science is actually about really is about making waiting more acceptable. Because the more acceptable we can make waiting, the richer we can make that experience, the more we make people want to stay in the store and do it, the more we can drive down that capacity line.
Absolutely.
and the lower the operating cost of the store. And if you get it right, you minimize the operating cost, you maximize the time people spend in the store.
So if we've got low footfall into the environment and we've got capacity, can we start to push that out to mobile environments, to start to create real-time propositions? So starting to push them with with a proposition or a service or
Yes.
maybe a deal, so at 25% off to a group of people. So
Yes.
if I'm out there shopping with weddings and 25 other people are there as well, and
Yes.
I get a message that if I come in and buy at this moment in time because the store has got a low footfall,
Yes.
that seems like a great combination of maximizing and being able to pull different levers of getting people into your malls. And it's been really quite exciting for a lot of mall owners that we've seen as well, because they can start to drag people in from the digital high street into their physical environment by understanding the capacity that they have within their organization.
And it starts to smooth that arrival trend. I mean, it's the first opportunity we've had to go, we are victims of demand, we don't know when it's going to turn up. You can start to actually do things to manipulate demand and actually have it turn up in the spaces that you have available. This is, in my humble opinion, this is the only queuing formula that you guys ever need to know. It's S equals P minus E. It's really easy. Satisfaction equals perception minus expectation, which just says, when we go out into retail space, we have an expectation about what's going to happen. So I think, planning and mapping and understanding this idea that satisfaction equals perception minus expectation. We start with the idea of what's going to happen, and actually, if you can deliver to me a perceived experience that's better than my expectation, I'm going to walk away and talk to a whole bunch of people and say, actually, that was great.
Absolutely.
And then you've got the arrival process. If I get into a retail space and I want to do something, and I can't engage, there's no one around to ask, or the person who is around is dashing that way.
Or the meet and greeters, but they're meters and walkers away. I
exactly.
love that when you've got a meter and greeter who disappears with somebody.
And all of those things create frustration and lead to that negative perception. And then if there is a waiting process going on in there, if there's a difference between when I alert the store in some way to say, maybe with my smartphone, I want to do something actually, and there's a gap between when that happens and when they can actually serve me, how is that managed? How long is it going to take?
Yeah.
Are you able to tell me how long it's going to take? We know, because of what we do, that actually that's perfectly possible. You can actually manage people's expectations because you can say, I can serve you in between, say, 3 and 5 minutes. Is that okay, Mr. Customer? And if it isn't okay, you can do something about it.
And it's really interesting as well, so you know what that person's in for at this point. You know how long they're going to roughly wait. You can then start to change their perception of their wait time. So we've seen quite a dramatic impact on that. So being able to give them relevant content based upon the shopping experience they're about to undertake,
Yes.
we can actually start to change that perception quite dramatically.
And this is kind of how it feels for the customer when the process gets right. We get the S equals P minus E right. We take the opportunity to use the technology and the data to reset expectations around the in-store experience. And maybe we can even offer differential service. So we can actually think about the demographic. We can think about which customers are more important to us as retailers and say, who do I want to give my best service to?
Absolutely. And that's irrespective. So, if somebody is available in store, how do you associate them to maybe a high-value consumer who's about to start the purchasing decision online? How do you link that best available person to that particular moment?
So it becomes a smooth, calm, professional, on-brand experience as you walk through this retail space and do what you plan to do today.